This is the War Room Roundtable podcast, the show that takes you around the world to share interviews with some of the most successful and relevant businessmen and women on the planet. Hear their stories and get the most important business lessons they've learned on the road to success, and get exclusive advice on how to implement their successes into your life and business. The War Room Roundtable is brought to you by your hosts, Jason Miller, CEO of Strategic Advisor Board, and Phillip Lanos, CEO of Own the Rhythm, and former podcast host for Entrepreneur and Inc. magazine. Welcome to the War Room. It is my absolute pleasure today to have with us Sol Alsina. Welcome.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here as well. Welcome. Actually, Sol Alsina from Argentina. It's even, kind of like
Argentina.
Argentina, Sol Alsina. Yes. Thank you guys for having me. I'm already feeling the vibe.
Hey, that rhymes. I love it. That's awesome.
Sol Alsina from Argentina. That is like a lyric.
Did your parents do that on purpose, you think?
No. I think it's just, it was natural. It came out natural. I just made it up. It's a sound.
Well, I already like the energy we have. And Sol, I think that we're going to be able to have an interesting conversation, because when I look over at the notes of the work that you do with Mundoh Designs, which is a female-based branding agency and then website design agency, I think that you're doing something interesting in business, right? So you have sort of a double bottom line business. But before we get there, I always like to kick things off with, do you come from a family of entrepreneurs?
As a matter of fact, I do, because both of my parents, they actually have their own business. And, they told me their stories about how they made it. And so the answer is yes. And they are Italian and from Spain. So it's kind of like a very hyper energy, right? When you are Italian. I don't know if you can tell the way I talk and my hands move. But yes, as a matter of fact, I do. I do come from a family of entrepreneurs.
Wow. And that's interesting. Argentina, Italian, and Spain. That's a very, very eclectic mix. Yeah, even though it's all romantic languages and things of that nature, it's still very interesting as a mix, and all the cultures themselves. So you come from a family of entrepreneurs. You heard about that, but did you know that growing up, and that informed your decisions to be a business owner? Or was this something that sort of you didn't know, and then when you became older, you found out?
I would say that I always knew that freedom, it's kind of like my companion in this life. And I really, really enjoy freedom. And therefore, I kind of like felt that. And I knew that it was going to be a journey, an adventure, and kind of like a war room in terms of, you have your own battles in front of that journey or along that journey. And I knew that because I saw my mom, and I have, experienced my father also journey and battles in terms of becoming every day the best possible to keep that freedom of being their own owners. So the answer is I felt that I was going to be free and work for me and make my own decisions. So, yeah, and I like it.
I like that in the way that you told the story, you essentially were able to be aware of the journey, as you put it, the battles, the work that goes into it mentally, being able to keep yourself where you need to be to make that happen. So knowing that that's how you grew up, right? Is Mundoh Designs the first business you launched?
Oh, no. No, it's not. Actually, I think Mundoh, I will say I'm very proud of this combination of ingredients. Let's say that it's a mix of many passions that I have, and Mundoh is here because it combines actually all the business that I have had in the past or that I launched in the past. And I couldn't keep up with only one passion, right? So, for example, international relations, it was at the beginning one thing that I did, okay, as a consultant, opening business outside of Argentina and just getting related to each culture and making sure that if we launch a business, we need to understand the cultural, right, barriers, okay, and adapt the business to that. That was the first one. Then I was actually a coach, right? And I advise companies in terms of HR departments, right? How to become better place to work, diversity, inclusion, and people first. So I was kind of like a coach for that, kind of like a consultant, psychology in the organizations, and created better environments, which is actually my other passion. And I love creativity and technology. So I'm like, how do I combine the three businesses in one? So here I am with Mundo, right? That combines designs, creativity, website, branding. That's one passion. Then I have the coaching side, because in order to create a brand, you need to know many things about the person behind the brand, psychology, right? Coaching question, powerful things to unlock and read and how to engage people. So that's the second ingredient that Mundo has. And then international. I'm just, an international person. I love cultures. I think we get very rich when we are able to talk with you, Phillip, with you, Jason, with, I don't know, many other Bellwether members, for example. I love it. I love exploring the world. And three ingredients. So I think it's a very young company, I would say, and passion.
I think there's something really interesting about being able to put all those things together. And I want to turn it over to Jason for a second, who I'm sure has his thoughts on just sort of like the idea of what we've learned so far of growing up, seeing that struggle in your parents and what that looks like, and that fight for freedom, like you said, and then of course being able to take all the things that you love and turn them into businesses. It sounds like there's a lot that Jason can relate to in that respect too.
I love the fact that, because you use the words business is like war, right? That's the whole inspiration of this podcast to begin with is, business is like war. We're just not actually, we don't have bullets. We have computers and iPads and iPhones and all that instead, right? Mm-hmm. But it's always fun to listen to how businesses, they morph, right? It started with this little idea here, and then it cultured into this, and then it was the next, and then there was a light bulb that went off. It was like, whoa, what if I do all three of those things combined into one thing, right?
Yes.
And that is truly where passion and purpose collide right there. Right? Because you have a passion for something, you have all these purposes that come together, and then you smash them all together and let them collide, and it creates beauty.
Okay, so you mentioned the two first P, right? Mm-hmm. So which is passion, purpose, and what is the third one? Profit. Because I do believe, or it could be people, planet, and profit. I do believe in that kind of businesses, right? Mm-hmm. Where you really can merge those two ingredients first. I think succeed, in my definition of succeed, it's when you don't feel that you're working, you're playing. I don't work. I don't go to work. I go play, right? Because I do have my passion first, my ikigai, my reason why I wake up every morning. And that's what fuels my sales, my growth, and I just go to play. And I think that's the key of a business, to keep it up in the war, right? Room, because at the end of the day, we are in that room by ourselves, fighting a lot of, inner processes, right? Anyway, Jason, sorry, you were very good at that 2 points.
I'm a raging capitalist. So purpose, passion, purpose, raging capitalist.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
No, I think it is also interesting that you mentioned ikigai. Anyone who hasn't read up on ikigai, that Japanese sort of philosophy, that way of life, I think it's an important thing for people to look into, to be able to find, which is basically, like you said, it's sort of the centerpiece between profit, people, and actual purpose. And that, so it's really cool that you brought that up, and that's like a core central philosophy for you, which now that I look at, because we haven't even gotten to the interesting thing, is you yourself are also in Mundoh training refugee women and mothers and senior women in design skills, and
Yes.
getting them to a place where they can actually themselves, their lives are changed forever. And that's sort of what's interesting about what you do, right? I know it's not the only thing you do, but it's a big part of what you're doing. And I'd love to hear more about how that came about. Like, where I can imagine where the inspiration comes from, but where was that moment where you finally decided you're actually going to do it? Because some people will have a big idea like that. Oh, I'm going to help, these kind of people and change their lives. And then they'll be too scared to actually make that leap, because it's a big idea to think that you're going to be changing that many people's lives, and those people in particular. So what gave you the courage, and where did that come from for you?
Well, I always have, a powerful question that before all this, I kind of like ask to myself in the war room every night, or, when I feel like I'm in that room by myself. And the question is, what's the most important thing I should know about me? And what's the most important thing you should know about me? I always ask that question, right, to the other one before I even start having a conversation. Like, that's the key, or the bridge. And the good thing is that I should know that I'm a good heart. And that's the most important thing you should know about me, and I should know about me. So when I answer that, I'm like, I want to have a social metric in my business. I do not conceive just making money just because of making money. And that's the ikigai. That's my reason why I wake up every morning. It's not only to create designs, or actually it's more than that. I want to impact people through design, through training refugee women or single moms or senior women like my mom, that I don't want them to be left aside because of how the world is. And I just love it. That's how I came. I'm a good heart. And if I'm a good heart, where is my heart going to be showing that I'm a good heart, right? I'm just trying to show what I want to see, right, in the world. And I just love humanity. I love that. I think it's sexy when somebody's a good heart. I think it's just, I love that. I don't care about how much money you have or the title you got. Just let me know who you are. And from there, we will build a relationship. And I'm like, I'm showing what I want to see, Phillip and Jason, and what I want to see, it's more people that are more humans. That's how I started. People need help. I do too. I do need help as well, guys. Let me show you my woman side. Even though I seem like an alpha woman, right? I do need support. That's why I'm here too, right? To be listened, to be heard, to talk. Sorry, I extended that.
No, I love it. There's a maturity to the way that you broke that down, because it's often difficult for businesses to admit that there's an aspect of their business they don't have completely under control, right? And so the worst thing they could do is go and hire someone, but then fight that person that they hired every step of the way to get things done. And, Jason works in the consulting, just very similar in that sense, where they're offering services to people. And there are some people who, even after hiring someone, will literally fight you on every single detail just to admit that, just to feel like they still have some control over it, because I got it under control. But the minute you can admit that there's an aspect you don't have under control, you open yourself up to the possibilities. So I really love that you brought that up in the way that you did, because we could all use a little more of that vulnerability.
You're getting romantic, guys, here. What's going on? We're getting, yeah. It's a romantic war room. Okay, that's a little bit, antagonism here. Okay. I'm just very intrigued about why war room, and we're talking very deeply, romantically, right? Okay, like that.
It's all good. Anyway, yeah, I mean, there's
maybe
romance in war. There can be romance in war. Absolutely can be. You bet.
For all sure. Is fair in love and war.
Love and war. It is. That's true.
Wow, it's a very good name, actually. It's a very powerful name.
And I think that there's really interesting things that you've brought up. I mean, the fact that you yourself said, look, I can't conceive a world where I'm doing business just for profit. There has to be a social metric to it. And we talk about that all the time. In fact, Jason's the kind of guy that he won't do anything unless it's like a 5-way win. Like it's got to be a 5-way win in some way or another, because that's just the way life should be done. And I learned that from him almost every day that we work together on things. So I think that there is a huge quality that I'm beginning to see in some of the most successful people, that is something that they strive for consciously. So with that said, I want to come back to Mundoh itself and sort of like, where are you now? What goal do you have currently that you're sort of pursuing?
Well, let's say that right now, the goal is to, of course, scale and keep, because if we scale, we will scale the social impacts, right? I mean, the more projects we are able to bring to the table, the more social metrics we will have to, feel proud of, right? So anyway, that being said, am I here? Yes, I'm from Argentina. We are all from Argentina. My team, let's say they didn't escape, but, they choose to move to Europe, right? Argentina is getting very, very tough country in terms of inflation, guys. So we have 8% inflation per month. And therefore, our goal is to keep having this global mindset. I want to live in Argentina. I love my culture. Okay. Our culture is not our politicians. You get what I'm saying. And in order to achieve that and keep growing, we need to be global. We need to keep opening the market. And for this, I'm always extremely thankful, to the community I belong, which is the Bellwether Alliance. And that's our goal, to keep spreading out our reflective designs, let's say. I call it impactful or impact designs, because we do good with designs. And that's our goal. We need to keep opening and getting to know the USA culture market, right? Which is different. It's very different, the way you guys do business and the way we do it. So there we go. That's our goal, to expand our possibilities and enter the market a little bit better.
I like that you brought that up, because one of the things that I remember most about riding in an Uber, I know it seems almost irrelevant, but I was on my way to the airport for a trip to New York when the driver turned back to me and said, "Oh, you're in business," or what have you, because I realized that we were having that conversation. He's like, "Well, you're not really in business unless you're doing it international." I remember thinking to myself, and I was early on, so I was like, "Oh man, now I got to go international. How am I going to do this?" But you specifically are I think positioned to be able to speak to this. What is one thing that businesses in the US can do to sort of begin to open up the markets internationally, let's say to Argentina and vice versa? Let's have that conversation.
Okay. Let's see. I believe that, we have to say this. I'm going to be very direct. Okay. United States as a world, I don't know how to say this in English, guys, but from Argentina, potencia. This means that we look, or, we are a third world country, right? That doesn't mean that we don't have quality. I think we are very top notch. However, in terms of economy and financial decisions, we do believe that United States has been, much better in that way, right? Of growing, of possibilities, opportunities. Now, that's why we believe that if you do have clients in the USA, right? If you are from Latin America, the other companies that belongs to other countries are going to start saying, okay, I'm confident now. Don't ask me why. It's a cultural thing. I cannot change that. Okay, even if I don't agree. But there is a certain way of confidence that if the United States choose you as, their designer, let's suppose, because I'm talking about my company, then you will have more possibilities. For example, if England wants to hire, our services, or Netherlands, we can discuss that and debate, but it's the way it's currently what I feel, okay, as a business owner. It's like that. Yeah.
I think I understand what you're talking about. There's a degree of almost authority that begins to be established. Sort of like you could be a doctor in any other country, and then the minute you come to America, yeah, but you're not a doctor that studied in America, right? Mm-hmm. There's, even though you may actually be better than 90% of the doctors who did study in America.
Yeah, I'm not discussing that exactly. I'm just saying
that's an actual thing. That is a way that it is, right? And so what I was asking was like, how do you think the U.S. companies, because there are some small businesses, right, who can actually potentially work with international businesses that are in Argentina, but they wouldn't even know where to begin. Right. Is there a marketplace we go to? So is there a way that maybe business owners who are listening, and forgive me if I'm asking a crazy question, but is there a way that, or some kind of thinking process, a seed, can we plant a seed to help businesses in the US start to think more international, even if they're not a major corporation and what have you? Is there a way to start creating that? Is there a marketplace we can start looking at, things of that nature?
Yes. Well, first of all, let me tell you, Phillip and Jason, I do like craziness, because I do believe that when you are out of, so it's a good question, right? I think that will open roads that then the wise people will just walk through, right? So it's a good question. Let me start by saying that, first of all, I do believe that when people in the USA, business owners, big, middle, it doesn't matter, you start connecting and having a global mindset, okay? That's what we have. I think you get richer in terms of everything. So I think it's a huge opportunity to start connecting with people from other places. First of all, because inflation is also good for them, bad for us. But in terms of maybe they cannot afford the industry in the USA, in terms of, like, for example, a design, which is, it's more expensive, right? Because you have a different type of economy. So I think for that, you can either, look in Workana, for example. I will then pass along the sites or the marketplaces. But I will say the people talent, search for talent. Just Google, designers in Argentina, and you will get many of agencies that you will ask, hey, how much do you charge per this, right? And you see the portfolio. Or you go to Dribble, right? Dribble to see portfolios of designers. And then you search different countries, right? Argentina, Colombia, it doesn't matter. Ukraine, for instance, and many others to help them also, right? Because at the end of the day, guys, we're also decision makers. Even if you have a small business, with your decision, you can either choose a provider that has a social impact or not, right? So, like that. I don't know if I answered that.
Good point. It's a very good point.
We are all decisions makers. We don't have to wait for politicians to really, okay, do good. You do good, right? Now, ask yourself what you can do also for other ones. If you want to help people in the States, that's fair enough too. But search, I don't know, for minorities to help. I don't want you guys to help only Argentinians, or, you have you have many people to help in the States as well. I wish I could help everybody, but we need to choose according to your passion, right? And to your story.
I mean,
immigrants, for example.
I'm almost convinced that this 2 minutes that we spent on even talking about this did more politically for Argentina than like 90% of politicians in Argentina. You know what I mean? But that just goes to show the power of business and what it really does. Even as far back as the East India Trading Company, and like just the power of merchants and what they did historically for business. I've been really trying to do my homework on that so that I truly understand where we are today. And so I just think what you're doing and what you're talking about is very important. And, as Jason himself has served all over the world. So I know that he knows firsthand, like the world itself and how it looks, which is probably why, and this is my assumption here, I don't want to speak for him, but I can imagine why his heart is so big and why he thinks about so many people winning all the time, because he has seen what's happening out in the world. And he does realize that the world needs more connectivity. Is this accurate, Jason?
That's spot on. I mean, yeah, and I've been a lot of places in my life, a lot of places I didn't want to be in my life too, but you learn from every single experience, right? And the world is still a bit inflamed. It's a little bit angry still, right? And it's our job, right, as not as business owners, I mean, just as human beings, right? Because we have to really put the you back in human, right? As I don't remember what his name, a guest we had on said, Kyle. And he said, we got to put the you back in human. And, and bring all this tension down in the world and just realize we're all in this together, right? I mean, we are all a human race that's in it together, whether you like it or not, whether you agree with certain cultures or not, it doesn't matter. We're all humans and we're all in it together. We can either sit around and complain about it, or we can do something to fix it and do something that will bring business, people, all these things to a more global stage, right? And we can really show, and it just starts right here. One conversation at a time, right? It's where it all starts. We're having an international conversation right now.
Yes, yes, we are, and I'm enjoying it, and it's feel very, it's smooth and open, and it's fun, and at the same time, I think it has that social impact behind it, right? And that reflection ingredients. It's like, it's that sip of glass of wine where you start toasting about, hey, let's celebrate this moment, because we have the opportunity to say to the ones that wants to listen to this, and guys, it's like you said, Jason, humanity. Let's put the you back. And you remind me of Ubuntu, the philosophy of the African philosophy, which is I am because you are. Right, and that's what it is. I think businesses should be more beautiful. And when I mean beautiful, it means to really include that social metric inside of it. So anyway, I'm enjoying this very much.
Yeah, I think that there's only a few things left because in the interest of time, although I could probably talk about this for a lot longer. Number one, and I always forget to ask this, and I'm so grateful that Jason always reminds me, because where can people go explicitly that you would like them to like connect with you and talk more with you about things?
They can WhatsApp me. They can go to LinkedIn, Sol Alsina. Sol means sun, so just put SOL Alsina. And in LinkedIn, you will find me, or mundohdesigns.com. That's all you need to do. Just find there, and I will be more than glad to have conversations. I always say, connection first, content later. I will not talk about designs. I will just ask you what's the most important thing I should know about you.
Right on. And now, if you could go back to a younger version of yourself, or maybe even to a time where you weren't sure what the future looked like in the world of business for yourself, what would you say to yourself, knowing what you know now, having experience that you had now, and also because you are in a better state of mind right now than one would be who's facing a bunch of obstacles, and they're probably driving and going, I don't know if I'm going to do this. So they turn on this episode, right? And now they're listening. What would you say to this person, to this business owner, to this person who's currently facing an obstacle, or maybe even just debating whether they should start?
Okay, I have three things that I would say to my younger me or version and to them. First one is, if the answer to the question, is this what you want? Is this your passion? Is yes. Start with your hands empty. Start even if you're shaking. Just start. Okay? Only if the business you're thinking about, it's connected to your passion, to your purpose, and it makes you wake up every morning. Okay? If you feel that burning mission inside, then you start. Empty hands, even if you don't have anything, go ahead and do it. Do not waste your time. Number one, shaking, go ahead. Number two, please make sure that you have your expectations extremely realistic, okay? Meaning that at the very beginning, you will be in a war room, okay? With yourself, struggle. If you have your expectations very realistic and you picture yourself like you are going to be 3 years being a bonsai, just to say, maybe you are going to be 3 years being a bonsai, maybe 1 year, but just make sure that we follow the statistic, right? Which is 3. But that's going to keep your roots very strong. And in the 3rd year, the expectation is to be a bamboo. That means they're going to go so fast that you cannot keep it up. So you better prepare for that moment. And after that, make sure that you know who will be partnering with you. That's the last stage of the growing part. When you cultivate with complementary partners. And the 3rd thing, after passion, purpose, after being aware of your expectations, so you don't get mad very often, right? If you know your expectations, you will enjoy the journey a little bit better. I will say that please, I should know this before. Please make sure that you choose the right people along the way, and that you partner. You need to make sure that you partner with people that already did this. They are not your competitors. They are your partners. You need to partner, learn from there. If I have to ask, there is a very short story that says, a girl asked to a panda, what is most important, the goal of the journey, right? We all know that question. And the panda said, the company along the journey. Just choose the right people to go with you, because you will have risk, bad moments, and of course, celebration moments. But you need to learn, be open to be humble. You cannot do it yourself. You will only need company, okay? Sometimes we are too, I can do it. I will do it myself no matter what. You don't need to suffer. Do not choose that, Just life is very short. So choose somebody that already knows a lot of things that you don't, and learn, okay? Okay, that being said, that's my advice.
I love it. I love it. There's a lot of heart and soul to the way that you presented that. And it's true. A lot of people do choose to suffer in the middle of the choices that they make are based on suffering. And it was likely totally optional. So I like that you presented it that way. With that said, Ed, I think I'm going to move over to the grand finale question, unless Jason has something he wants to chime in with.
Let's do it.
All right. So for all the 1,000,000 points for the show, right? Let's let them know what they've won. No, if you could have invited anybody, Sol, today to today's conversation, based on everything we covered, who would you have loved to have had here to listen to all of this and maybe even contribute some of their own today, and why them?
My dad, who's not here. Yeah. My dad. Yeah, my dad and my mom, they are the ones that I would invite. So they are proud.
Oh man.
Okay, now I don't want to be, you guys,
No.
these moments of being, I'm a little bit,
It's true. It's true though. We like when I listen to the conversation and like what the themes are, right? It's a lot of humanity. There's a lot of love and you're not shy to admit like, like every day is going to be a war with yourself, but life is easier when you choose great companions, right? Great partners. And when you're doing work that matters, right? The work that you're doing is making a difference. Like you said, when you do those things, everything else takes care of itself. And it's funny, Jason talks about this all the time. It's not about the money, and if you focus on the people, the money will take care of itself. He says it all the time. And I love that your story and what you're talking about and what you do and what you believe really mirrors that, because it's an important thing that I think a lot of us were like, oh yeah, you got to focus on the people and purpose. And then they go back to like, I can't seem to get the thing. And they get all frustrated. And I know because I'm guilty of this myself. Right. But I forget that I get to have conversations like this every day of my life. Change and you never know what conversation that was recorded that someone's going to listen to completely changes their life. We don't know that, but that's the kind of conversation this is, whether we're talking about conducting international business or conducting ourselves accordingly and responsibly by doing business that does have more than one end in mind. I think this conversation is about that, and it's powerful, and I'm very grateful that we had this moment. But I'm going to let Jason close this out. I'm not the last one here.
I think we solved all the world's problems today. Well, anyway, thanks for being here on the show. I know we went a little bit long today, but thanks for being so gracious with your time and being on the show and really sharing the passion that you do have. I think we need more of that in the world today, right? And the more of that we get, the more we'll heal, and the more we can grow as human beings, grow as businesses, all these things. And, thanks for dropping a lot of that on the audience, because I think a lot of that, we need to remind people of a lot of those things and remind people that there is more outside of our little box, right? There's so much more outside of our little box. All we have to do is open the door and have a little look, right? At what is outside of that box. So thanks for bringing that to the show. And thanks for spending a little bit of time with us today here. We really appreciate you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Actually, I wanted to be here, and for the space, the opportunity to actually, yes, we all the listeners today, please know the ecology of decisions, right? You have the power to be also a decision maker. Don't think that you have just a little impact with your decision. You can just have a huge impact every time you get to decide. Whenever, if you want to choose a designer from Argentina or the States or not, etc. Okay, you have a lot of power to make an impact. And on the other hand, thank you for making me feel the way I did, because we all forget what people maybe give us sometimes, or what we say, but we will never forget the way we make other ones feel and the way we feel. So thank you, because I won't forget how good I felt today. It was memorable. Thank you, guys.
Wow. Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening to the War Room Roundtable with your hosts, Jason Miller and Phillip Lanos. Please leave your feedback and visit strategicadvisorboard.com to get the latest and greatest business advisement on the planet. Follow us on social media for updates, and always remember, if you can dream it and believe it, then you can go achieve it. We'll see you in the next episode.